Hello, my name is Giselle Quiroga, and my lesson was Language Arts, third grade, and the theme was habitats. The purpose of my lesson was to teach the students how to use new knowledge about different types of habitats and the animals that live in it while they learn and use new vocabulary to write a response, understanding the general meaning, main points, and important details of spoken language. Um, to introduce my lesson, I introduced the concept of literary text um, and introduced the vocabulary that they would be seeing and using throughout the lesson. The first part was a visualizing activity where the student I don't have a classroom, so I only had one student wrote um, what what they she pictured, imagine, can see, smell, hear, taste, touch. That was the thinking stem of what the vocabulary words meant. So what she was picturing when she um, heard the word exotic, or so we had a visualizing board at the beginning to kind of tap into the background knowledge of the student. So this lesson explores important details of spoken language as well as in the text. For the first article, Unlocking the Research on English Language Learners, the excerpt that supports my lesson was the section, The Home Language Can Be Used to Promote Academic Development, on page 8. Using the home language as a support, such as providing definitions or explanations in the home language, was part of my lesson. In the presentation of the content, where I am reading the book, this book, On the Banks of the Amazon, which is in English and Spanish. Um, as I am reading, I am asking strategic questionings before, during, and after um, reading the book, and I am summarizing the response given by the students in their second language. I am also referencing the vocabulary featured in the text as well. An excerpt that questions my lesson I found was on page 8, no, on page 7, and was the use of shelter strategies that involve cognate or cognate instruction. My lesson did not focus on cognates, but I can see how maybe that could be incorporated into this lesson since the book it is bilingual. From the second article, English language development, on page 18, um, an excerpt that supports my lesson would be English language learners should be carefully grouped by language proficiency for English language development instruction. Um, so grouping the students by achievement level in certain subjects can result in enhanced achievement at all ability levels. So for my in my towards the in my presentation of the content, after reading the book and talking about the vocabulary written in the book, the students work with an elbow partner, writing possible sentences using the information um, and details of the book. And part of this is the cooperative learning, where the students share to each other their possible sentences. So if we have mixed ability in proficiency levels, they're able to learn from each other and have different learn from other spoken language from their peers as well as from the teacher, because we in the closing of my lesson, we discuss ways to improve writing sentences based on the common errors that we're hearing from the possible sentences. An excerpt from this article that questions my lesson was on page 22. The use of English during instruction should be maximized, and the primary language should be used strategically. In my lesson, I believe it could have more added moments of that strategic placement of primary language to help support the learners. Um, from the article Dual Language Learners, page 27, an excerpt that supports my lesson would be about explaining vocabulary words encountered during the reading and using them in different contexts, which is what in the beginning of my lesson, when I was introducing the vocabulary to my student, that same vocabulary was what she would be using to compose a response to the prompt. So she needed to have encountered that vocabulary in the reading and in different contexts to be able to write the prompt, which was to describe the general meaning of the book, using the details in the vocabulary to describe the habitats of the banks of the Amazon, as well as using a main idea graphic organizer. And lastly, the excerpt that questions my lesson from the Dual Language Learners article was from page 29, and that was involving families in supporting children's language learning. This I see how that could be a great opportunity to extend the lesson, where the families can be motivated and provide their support in their children's education. So that would be a great extension to the lesson to keep the theme going with habitats. Maybe do something at home for them to explore in their environment there. And so that would be my lesson critique. And thank you.